Every Sunday she wore yellow. She would walk into the little corner cafe, order a black coffee, and settle into the seat by the window, the one that caught the morning light just right. And every Sunday, from his apartment across the street, he would watch her. It had become his ritual, the quiet highlight of his week. He never missed it. He didn't know her name, where she came from, or where she went after she finished her coffee and read a few chapters of her book. All he knew was the brilliant splash of yellow against the muted tones of the city, a small, personal sun that rose just for him. He was a painter. His studio was a chaotic mess of canvases, splattered drop cloths, and the sharp, clean scent of turpentine. For months, his main subject had been the view from his window, the bustling street, the old brick buildings, the shifting patterns of light and shadow. But lately, all his canvases were filled with yellow, hues of lemon, marigold, and daffodil. He painted the cafe, the window, the empty chair. He tried to capture the way the light seemed to cling to her, the gentle curve of her smile as she read, the way she'd tuck a stray strand of hair behind her ear. But he could never quite get her face right. Memory was a fickle muse. He'd painted her 100 times, but she remained a beautiful, sunny blur. One Sunday, he decided it was time. He couldn't spend another week just watching. He put on his best jacket, ran a hand through his perpetually messy hair, and took a deep breath. His heart hammered against his ribs like a trapped bird. What would he even say? "Hi, I'm the guy who watches you from his window every week." No, that was definitely not the way to go. He rehearsed a dozen opening lines as he walked down the stairs, each one sounding more awkward than the last. By the time he reached the street, he'd almost talked himself out of it. But then he saw her, a beacon of yellow, pushing open the cafe door. It was now or never. He crossed the street, his palms sweating. He walked into the cafe, the warm smell of coffee and pastries wrapping around him. And there she was. She looked up from her book as the bell on the door chimed, and for the first time, their eyes met. Not through a window, not from a distance, but right there. I felt a jolt, a connection that was more real than any of his paintings. Her eyes were a warm, gentle brown, and a small, curious smile played on her lips. He forgot every line he had practiced. All he could manage was a simple hi. She smiled back, a full, genuine smile that lit up her whole face. "Hi," she said. "You're the painter from across the street, aren't you?" He was stunned. "How did you know?" She gestured to his hands. He looked down and saw them, stained with streaks of blue, red, and of course, a telltale smear of bright, vibrant yellow. He laughed, a nervous, relieved sound. "Guilty," he admitted. "Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's been watching you, too," she confessed, a faint blush rising on her cheeks. "I see you up there, in your window. You always look so focused. I've been wondering what you paint." His heart skipped a beat. She had been watching him. This whole time, he thought he was the only one. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. "I paint a view," he said, his voice a little shaky. "The street, the buildings, ... You." The words were out before he could stop them. He braced for her to be weirded out, to call him a stalker, but she just looked at him, her gaze soft and intrigued. "Me?" she asked quietly. He nodded, feeling bolder now. "Every Sunday, I call the series The Girl in Yellow." A slow, beautiful smile spread across her face. "My name is Lily," she said, "and my favorite color is yellow." He pulled out the chair opposite her. "I'm Leo," he replied, his own smile mirroring hers. Can I buy you another coffee, Lily?" She closed her book, marking her page. "I'd like that very much, Leo." And so, the Sunday ritual changed. It was no longer about a painter watching a girl from a distance. It became about Leo and Lily, sharing coffee and stories by a sunlit window. He learned that she was a writer, that she came to the cafe for inspiration, and that she'd always been drawn to the artist in the window, wondering about the worlds he was creating. She learned about his passion, his frustrations, and his 100 failed attempts to capture her likeness. One day, he finally invited her up to his studio. She stepped inside, her eyes wide as she took in the canvases, leaning against every wall. There she was, ober and ober in shades of sunshine and gold. She walked from one painting to the next, a look of wonder on her face. "You saw all of this just by watching me," she whispered. He stood beside her, looking at the paintings that had consumed him for so long. "I saw a story," he said, "and I wanted to know the ending." She turned to him, her eyes shining. She reached out and gently touched his paint-stained cheek. In that moment, surrounded by a sea of yellow, he knew his painting was finally complete. Because now, he didn't have to rely on memory. He had her, right here. The real thing. The real thing. He leaned in and kissed her. A kiss that tasted of coffee and turpentine, and the promise of 1,000 more Sundays to come. And from then on, the man who painted the girl in yellow didn't have to look out his window to find his son. She was right there with him, making his world brighter than any color on his palette. Their story wasn't just a painting anymore. It was real life, more vibrant and beautiful than either of them could have ever imagined.